Blog Talk Radio.
Awake from the dream of the picture you painted. If you want it, proclaim it. Say it loud and proclaim it. Make sure you leave with something more than you came with. You will achieve, fueled by the will to attain it. So no more complaining, proclaim it.
In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and that Muhammad is his servant and messenger. I would like to greet today's listening audience and the members of the Farrakhan Twitter army with the greeting words of peace and paradise of Assalamu Alaikum. Before we begin our program, I just wanted to talk a little bit about the show. ProclaimIt Radio was brought into existence to put out there all of the people who are taking their place in the world today as leaders and are doing what they need to do as far as living out their purpose. So just a little bit about myself. My name is Sister Akila Muhammad from Washington, D.C. Today, as our presenters, the people who helped to put together the Twitter book, The Teachings 2.0. So before we get started, I'm going to give them each 30 seconds to introduce themselves. And I'm going to start out with Sister Shareefah. Assalamu alaikum, ma'am.
Wa alaikum salam, beloved. In the name of Allah. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, brother.
No, go ahead, ma'am. It's fine. I'll get
if you can't tell, since Shareefah was somewhat excited, so let me run down a little bit about myself in 10 seconds because I'm using up the first 20. In the name of Allah, I am Sister Shareefah Muhammad. First and foremost, I want to thank you, Sister Akila, for allowing us to proclaim it on your show, Proclaim It, because we definitely want to share with the world what it took to put together such a magnificent book. But just a little background about myself. I'm one of them types who they call a jack of all trades, but I think the main thing I want people to identify me with is I have a love and a passion for health and wellness. So I'm a student of clinical nutrition, and my goal is to use that information to help teach our people the whys behind how to eat to live, so that hopefully we can extend our lives beyond the minimum that we live, which is under 100, or at least get us to that 100, 150 within this next couple of generations, and eventually make it to that 1,000 as we're taught in the scriptures that our people used to live by.
Yes, ma'am. Praise be to Allah. Well, thank you, Sister Shareefah. And I'm going to keep on going to everyone. So next up, I want to have Brother Jahleel. Can you introduce yourself and also mention what else how you participated in the Twitter book? Walaikum salam, sir.
Yes, ma'am, and listeners, my name is Brother Jahleel Muhammad. From Detroit, Muhammad Maz number 1. Again, thank you, Sister Akila, for having me on. It's such an honor to be one of those names listed up in the few that do so many. One of the parts of the Twitter book that I contributed was designing the cover and any other promotional advertisements dealing with the Teachings 2.0 book. So that's me in 30 seconds. Also, if for those interested in any design work, you can go online, justmuhammad.com, at justmuhammad on Twitter, and Jahleel Muhammad on Facebook. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Praise be to Allah, sir. So next up, I'm going to have Sister Landra. If you could introduce yourself as well and how you participated with the Twitter book.
Assalamu alaikum, family. Can you hear me?
Oh,
yes,
ma'am.
Hear me. Praise be to Allah. I'm Sister Landra, in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful. I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and that Muhammad is his messenger. I was amazingly blessed to be an editor/proofreader of the Teachings 2.0. I am from Mosque number 7, Mighty Mosque number 7, and I have recently relocated down south to Mosque number 36, which is in Charlotte, North Carolina. And as I'm just now moving and getting settled down here, I'm kind of recreating some things. But when I was home in the northern area of, northern New Jersey, I was a business owner. I owned my own daycare center called Auntie Landra's House. And in addition to that, I catered. Small catering business called Auntie Landra's Kitchen. There's something about Auntie Landra's that's going on. There's a theme there. And I do think that as I'm down here in Charlotte, I will be blessed to recreate the same things down here and make it even bigger. Assalamu alaikum.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. And praise be to Allah. That's definitely exciting, very interesting. Praise be to Allah. So I'm going to keep on going, though. We have a few more people. So, Brother Hannibal, if you could introduce yourself and how you helped out with the Twitter book as well.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Brother Hannibal seems to be having some technical difficulties. Brother Hannibal, can you speak now? Okay, I don't know if this one. But so also I have Brother Jesse. If you're on, you can speak now.
Yes, ma'am. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much, Sister Akila. It's indeed an honor to share these airways on your wonderful show, Proclaim It, as well as to share this airways with such a mighty group of people that I've been honored to work with, not only on the Twitter book, but in a lot of endeavors in our nation and helping the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Again, I'm Brother Jesse. For those who don't know, I reside in Houston, Texas, under Muhammad Mosque number 45, and I'm a happy citizen of the Nation of Islam. And in regards to the Twitter book, I had absolutely nothing to do with this book, so I therefore do not know why I'm on this show.
Yes.
Well, praise be to Allah.
Brother Jesse, oh my goodness. Praise be to Allah. Yes, sir. So, basically what I want to do with this show is I really want to give an inside, kind of an inside scoop of what happened with the Twitter book, what made it take place, and how each of us, bringing our skills together, were able to bring this book into existence. So, actually, I'm going to take it back to you, Brother Jesse, because I feel like you can, because you helped compile the book together, that you can give us maybe a brief history of how the book came into existence.
Yes, ma'am. So, how it started, and many can read the full backdrop in a sense of in the introduction when they get their copy of the book. But I had mentioned to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan starting in 2011 in regards to there was a need to have a official Twitter account for him, and he instructed me to set it up. And from there, I actually thought, Sister Akila, that I would just have the luxury of just tweeting some of his quotes, letting the people know where he's speaking at. You know, the minister had a 57 to 58-year catalog, which means there's nothing short of information and guidance to tweet. But however, he started seeing the benefit of responding to people's questions. And as that began to increase, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan's interest in this tool began to increase because he saw it was another medium by which he could reach the people with his father's words, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And from that time, how it would start, we would call him, have conference calls with him. He would answer the questions. They would have to be transcribed. And my wonderful wife, Sister Shareefah, she's been the editor of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan tweets and working with me since day one. And so that's definitely why her name had to be added. And with that being said, we've been working since then on the account. But however, how the book came about, after the first year, and the minister recognized that he had given so much in these tweets, he said on the phone, he said, "Brother, look like we have some encyclopedias on our hands." Now, we're taught in the Nation of Islam that when the man of God makes a suggestion, it's really an order. So in my mind, I heard we need to put this in book form. And it was for two particular reasons that we discussed. Number one, even if you're on social media, it's very hard to get everything the minister said. And if you're not on social media, you don't know any of the minister is sharing on Twitter. Number two, we don't own these platforms, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Blogger, none of these things, so they could shut us down at any time. So there was a necessity for us to document our history and tell our story in terms of Minister Farrakhan's digital footprint. And from there, we started working on the book for almost a year. And praise be to Allah, we now have a final valuable product in our hands. That's the brief story.
Yes, sir. Praise be to Allah, sir. And starting with that, I wanted to take it to Sister Shareefah, and I wanted to ask you, why was it important for you to be on this project?
Wow. You really asked that question, Sister Keila.
Yes, I know it's a big question.
It is, and the interesting thing is, I was thinking in terms of later on when I responded, I was going to give a response to something similar to that, and you've already asked the question. But at the time of transcribing the first volume, I was pregnant. And, of course, you know, we're taught in terms of how to give birth to a God, it's very important what we feed ourselves, not only physically but mentally and spiritually as well. So during that time frame in the first portion of the transcription, it was really like a spiritual journey for me and my unborn child. And when our son was born, I can even tell you to this day, we can bear witness that we see the effects of what the word has had on him from listening to the minister's voice, taking the word, you know, taking what he feels in his voice, typing it, putting it in a word format. So now that when my son sees the minister or hears his voice, he's automatically brought to attention. And also in that, my son has a nickname. Well, I don't want to say nickname, but he's known as the Twitter bait. But that's all as a result, you know, of the tweets that have been compiled up to this point.
Oh, well, yes, ma'am. That must be so exciting that to see that this child that was being cultivated under the teachings, under Twitter. That is pretty fun. So yes, he is the Twitter baby. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So I'm going to take it to Sister Landra, and I was going to ask you, ma'am. So how were you asked to be a part of the Teachings 2.0, and why was it important for you to say yes and be part of this momentous book?
Well, I actually reached out to Brother Jesse. It was back in May of last year, and I had been blessed to work on 2 previous publications with Brother Demetric. So at the end of the second publication, I reached out to Brother Demetric, and I said, listen, if there's going to be a book of tweets, please let me work on it. And he said, no, Sister Landra, I'm not doing that book. Brother Jesse is doing that book. So I kind of thought to myself for a hot second, wait a second, I don't even know Brother Jesse. I said, but it was just literally a hot second. So after I realized it didn't matter whether or not I knew him, I reached out to him. I sent him a little note introducing myself and letting him know what work I had done and who had, told me to reach out to him and offering my assistance. And he wrote me back, and he's like, praise be to Allah, what's your contact information? And then I didn't hear back from him for a very long time. So I kind of reached out again, and I'm like, what's up with the Book of Tweets? And he, at that point, had a team. So he's like, well, maybe you can work on the next book. So I was just kind of like, praise be to Allah. Okay, it's okay. So then literally months later, like as in November 12th to be exact, I got a text from Brother Jesse early that morning, and he's like, what time can I call you? Are you okay to talk? And I'm like, well, call now. And this was like at 7:30 in the morning. So I was thinking, okay, this is very interesting. So he buzzed me, and he's like, sis, I need someone to help edit proofread. Are you available? And I'm like looking at the phone like, is he kidding? Wait, did he just ask me, am I available to help to work on this book? Yeah. So at that point, I was given the information, and I started working on it, and it was just absolutely amazing. even though we, in the Twitter army, we are reading the minister's tweets and, the questions and answers, but to see a complete listing of question, answer, and just to read them all in a row and just see how spiritual and profound they all were, it was like mind-blowing. So I remember that day I told my staff, listen, you can't talk to me today because I'm really, really, really busy. And I literally closed my office door. I was working in school at that point. I closed my office door, locked the door, and just immersed myself in the questions and answers of the minister. So very amazing. And a blessing, a huge blessing.
Yes, ma'am. And see, I want to ask you another question before we move on to our next guest, just because I thought this was very profound that you said this. So you actually went to the person you found out was working on this book and asked to be a part of it. What made you feel that you had, the space to do that? That you would be taken seriously to do that? No, I'm proclaiming it, so go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. I guess there are a few reasons. Number one, and anyone from number 7 is going to laugh at my answer, but I'm from Mars number 7. And sometimes we're kind of bold. And I think I even said that to Brother Jesse. Yeah, like, this is bold. You don't know me, but let me help, please. So that was one thing. And number two, and I say this to people all the time. Years ago, my father, who's now deceased, in a random conversation, he mentioned to me, if you don't do something while you're here on the planet Earth, when you die, it's like you were never even here. So, it just seems so profound. I mean, my dad was just a regular guy, but his words impacted me so heavily to the point where when I do things now, I want them to be not just for the here and now, but for 5, 10, 100 years from now, 1,000 years from now, that it will have impacted other people. And I just feel like the Teachings 2.0, it's going to impact people thousands of years from now, not just right here and today where we're all, the teachings, the book of tweets. It's so much more profound than right now. So I think Allah blessed me to have insight that this was just something very important. And I prayed that I would be able to work on it, and that prayer was answered. So I just feel very blessed to have been able to work on this project.
Yes, ma'am. Well, thank you. Oh, my goodness. Thank you so much for answering that question, because that was very profound. That, yes, each of us has to do something that's going to be worth remembering if we want to be remembered. So praise be to Allah, Sister Landra. And I wanted to go to Brother Hannibal, actually, since he didn't get a chance to introduce himself. And Brother Hannibal, if you could take about 30 seconds to introduce yourself, and also after that, tell us why was it important for you to be a part of the Teachings 2.0? Why was it important to you to be a part of it?
Absolutely. Assalamu alaikum. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, all praise due to Allah. My name is Brother Hannibal. Graphic design, photographer, servant, hard worker, somebody that's just blessed to be part of the nation. I'm just so happy to be on this call today in regards of why this Teachings 2.0 is so important to me and just working on it. I mean, oh my God. It was such a blessing just to be involved and be part of the beginning stages of just the minister stepping up on Twitter and just pushing out his words and just seeing people respond back to him, going through the Ask Farrakhan, and how people wanted to ask questions. They had direct access to the minister. That was such a blessing in itself at first. And then from there, of compiling all this information together and being in communication with Brother Jesse, Sister Ebony, Sister Tracy, a few other believers throughout the nation, and saying, what do y'all think about this? And people running ideas, say, I was already working on that. And then seeing Brother Jahleel take an image and create a flyer for it, and just see how people are responding to it. How you went from just Twitter to Farrakhan Fridays, to how everybody's even getting more in-depth questions answered, and just seeing how now, at this point in time, you don't have to worry about it, you don't have to have no blockage. You have direct access to the man of God himself, and you can ask any question you want to ask. And if the question's never been asked before, if the question has been asked, you can get that answer from that book and the books to come in the near future. That's where I'm at right now, Sister Akila.
Yes, sir. Praise be to Allah, sir. I love your spirit, sir. Praise be to Allah. Yes, sir. Well, we're going to turn it over to Brother Jahleel. I want to make sure I get everybody in. But, Brother Jahleel, if you can explain what you did for the book and why was it so important for you to be a part of this team?
I would say it was a no-brainer for me to be a part of it. I wanted to I always, one of the things that I wanted to always do with the gift that Allah has blessed me with is to help the minister reach our people through design. And so actually Brother Jesse, he reached out to me first to do the actual Twitter advertisement that the minister was on Twitter, because we had done some design. I had done some design. We had worked together before, and he called me. He sent me the pictures. Brother Hannibal sent me the pictures, and I was like, okay, well, let's get to work. And so that design, the initial design, was from the Twitter advertisement that I did for the minister, and it was really kind of a depiction of how the minister would now be reaching the entire world. And so you see the minister superimposed with the earth in the background and the light coming forth. So it was really that depiction of how, this man who we're looking at is now going to be reaching the larger masses of our people. And so it was like automatic. I have to work on this project. And, so when Brother Jesse called me, I was like trying to figure out, he was like, we gotta pay you for this, and that. I'm like, like, how much do you charge? I'm like, I charge the minister. That's hard to do. And so it was kind of a thing where it was like, I have to do this, whatever it is. And that was kind of the role I played. And it was like a meeting of minds, being able to work with Brother Jesse, Brother Hannibal, when we kind of we clicked immediately, like in no time. And so we kind of it was just that meeting of the minds and just putting things to work. And so I feel it was very important for me, because that was a part of my desire to be able to do with my gift in helping the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan reach the masses of our people, not only here in America, but around the entire globe.
Yes, sir. Praise be to Allah. And actually, I wanted to now take it back over to Brother Jesse, because this book has really been very important to our youth. And I know Brother Ashad just put out an article about the impact that it's had on our youth and having our young people read. And I wanted to know, Brother Jesse, if you could speak on that at all. I know you posted the article earlier today. Just like, what impact have you seen that this book has had so far on our youth, and what does that mean?
Yes, ma'am. This book has attracted overwhelming love and support and appreciation from the young people on down to those who are older, who appreciate the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan's outpouring of such wisdom via social media. And I've had people, to brothers in the nation, many in the street, have come to me teary-eyed after just reading just a few of the minister's tweets. I've been on radio shows where young people have heard some of his words and have been touched by it and just wanted to get the book. And so it is just, again, it's a testament to how the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, no matter if it's Twitter or the rostrum, this man is guided in such a way with the word that he can touch you in a tweet, in a Facebook post, in a YouTube video. So the support has been wonderful, and I appreciate the review that Brother Ashad wrote, because he's right. Conventional wisdom tells us that young people in this day and time don't read. But the truth of the matter is, as I heard my Brother Derek say the other day, young people are reading all the time. On their phone, they reading text messages, they reading books, they reading whatever it is, they just doing a lot of it on their phone. But however, when you bring a book of this size, easy read, that they can put in their back pocket and walk down the street, ride on the bus, hanging on the cut, it's real attractive to them. And it's right to the point. It's not long and drawn out. It's not real thick. And so I just think that I know that the response is only going to increase book for the time. The Honorable Mr. Farrakhan, as I close this point, we're talking about a man who stays fresh in every season like God himself. And this people, brothers and sisters, we have to recognize this is another demonstration of Minister Farrakhan's love. A man who wasn't into the internet, the man who barely understood the jargon of Twitter and Facebook, but however, he recognized that he can reach more people, with using social media, so he loved the people enough that he submitted himself as a student, Sister Akila, to learn these modern tools and instruments and see how we can effectively use it to the point that a man who didn't understand the internet could guide us to develop the Twitter army. Think about that. That shows you that God is with him, and now his impact that he's had has changed the course of how social media is to be used. He's caused a serious revolution, and that's why we know soon and very soon the enemy is going to have to shut us all down, because the Twitter army, as I said before, is some digital baby kids. They seem to block us out, but we keep on multiplying.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Praise be to Allah. Brother Jeffrey, you always have to crack it up. Oh, my goodness. And I was going to turn it to Sister Shareefah. And I know one of the themes and things that we're working on as a nation is that we don't need permission to do good. And I wanted to ask you, as far as, well, the show is called Proclaim It because we want everyone to take up their space. But as far as spreading the teachings in our own individual way, how could you say the Twitter book has helped you to maybe spread what you've learned, or even Islam, to people that you know?
Well, I could definitely say, the Teachings 2.0 book by itself is like a door opener for people, especially for our people who may have had myths attached to aspects of the Nation of Islam as it relates to us. And sometimes, especially with the book, when you open it and people will read the question and answer, the first thing that may pop up in their mind is, oh, this is like a daily motivation book. But the more they read it and they see the questions and the answers and how profound the responses are, and then to see that it comes from a man who you've been told so many lies or hearsay or, fed so many other things from mass media, it kind of helps open up our people's hearts and minds to, who the minister really is. So for me personally, it has come to make people whom I've been associated with not only to have a better understanding of the minister, but to be even more, open or make them closer to myself personally, because now they have a better understanding of what it is that I believe. And then when they see that what I do believe is very similar to them, it even makes a broader or even wider gateway for me to do fishing, for me to promote the economic blueprint, and, many of the other programs that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad has given to us through the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I definitely would agree that it's definitely since it's like such, the size is just perfect. So people are like, what is that? First of all, what is that? And then when you show them, oh, let me read something to you, they definitely are like, oh, that's powerful. Like, can I read some more? So definitely praise be to Allah. And I want to ask Sister Landra a question, and I wanted to ask you, as part of the editing team and just trying to make sure that everything is done perfectly, could you talk about maybe some of the challenges that you might have had that maybe you didn't expect to face, or just anything that you would have had to overcome while working on this project?
Yes, ma'am. I think the biggest challenge that I experienced was my work environment initially, as I was initially working on the project. Like I mentioned, at that point, I was working outside of my home. So I was working in a school, and it wasn't as quiet as I would have liked for it to be, but that was really the biggest challenge. What I have found is that when working on various projects, your mind and your spirit goes into a certain frame of reference, like a certain spirit, and you realize the importance of it. For example, I recall hearing a lecture of Brother Jahleel, and he mentioned typos in some of the books of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and he said that at a later time, someone would come and correct those typos. So that was a part of the mindset that I was, trying to, take on. Like, this is so very important. We can't have any typos. We can't have any mistakes, because this is not, like I mentioned before, not just for here, not just for now. And we want it to be as perfect or as near perfect as we possibly could have it. But like I said, I think when working on certain projects, Allah puts a certain spirit on you. So that spirit is helpful in terms of getting your specific job done. I'm sure that the other brothers and sisters that worked on the project would probably agree with me that as they were doing their particular phase of the book, they had a certain, zeal and spirit about their particular part.
Right, yes, ma'am. And I don't know if I mentioned this as well, but my company, Impression 24/7, actually did the layout, and I definitely can relate to that, just wanting everything to be so perfect and just having to meticulously go through things, and then if a mistake was made, being like, oh my gosh, this is for the minister, I have to fix this, like right now. So praise be to Allah, because I definitely, when you said that, just brought me back to the days when we were trying to edit the layout and make sure that it was as perfect as possible. So yes, ma'am, I definitely agree that there is a certain sense of urgency and just supreme seriousness. We're working on something that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is his work, it's his wisdom that he's given to the people. So yes, ma'am. And I wanted to turn it over to Brother Hannibal, and I wanted to ask you, sir, how important is it for us to use our skills that we have as individuals, our professional skills, for our nation?
Man, wow. It's very important. It's very important. We're all given certain gifts and talents. If you go to one of my favorite parts in the Bible, Matthew 25, and we're taught about our gifts and talents, we all are given gifts and talents. And Allah has given them to you for a particular reason, and if you don't use them, you wind up losing them. So to be able to just exhaust myself and striving to the best of my abilities to help the minister, that brings so much joy to me. I laugh. I speak on the phone with Brother Jesse, Brother RTM. Sometimes I keep them up to late hours in the morning on their end, since I'm on the west side, on the West Coast, and our time is a little different. But I love it. It brings me so much joy. I can stay up to 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning and still be working, because I know at the end of the day, if our spiritual father's putting in 18 hours a day, at least when he lays his head down, I want him to at least be able to look over and see at least one of us, 2 of us, 3 of us, his Farrakhan army standing up strong, still working. So to be able to put that kind of work in brings so much joy. Oh man, it's such a blessing. Especially like as I've been growing and striving to grow even deeper in just not even just in love, but just in regards to the craft of photography and graphics. One of the first things I learned was proper imaging of the minister. And that was such a challenge because you may take a picture. You may say, oh, this is a beautiful picture. I love it. But then it might not be the best representation of him. So you go through hours and hours going through your pictures and looking for the right one. You want to when you present that picture, the question I ask myself, if I was to give this image to the minister, and the minister said, is this your best image, could I say yes? So to even see my image on the cover of the book brought such a big smile on my face because I never expected that. I just wanted to help. And just as Brother Jahleel mentioned, being on the phone with Brother Jess, and he said the minister wants to know how much you want to charge him for your images. I'm like, how do you charge the man who brought you life? You can't charge him. And me and Brother Jesse would laugh going back and forth because he's like, well, you got to give me a price. I'm like, well, tell him I'll charge him 50 cents. He's like, man, be serious. I'm like, how do I charge him? At the end of the day, I owe him my life. So if I can take an image and hand it to him as a gift and say thank you, that's bigger than anything. So to any and everybody who wants to do something with their life, when you came into the nation and you signed that pledge and it asked you, would you bring your gifts and talents, and you said yes, would you bring your expertise, you said yes, that still stands. You signed that pledge. I signed that pledge, and we signed that pledge. So I'm asking, go into it, touch it, grab it, do whatever it is that you said you want to do to help this man, and help him. And like he said, if you don't fear death, or if you fear death, you don't mind life. I mean, if you don't fear death, if you don't fear life, you don't. Man, I forgot how it goes. Please forgive me, but we know what the minister said at Savior's Day. And at the end of the day, all I'm gonna say is this: I want to put my life on this, and I'm gonna work as hard as I can to keep helping. And if that means it's photography, I'm gonna take pictures until he tells me to stop shooting. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Praise be to Allah for your spirit, sir. And I definitely agree that that's the beautiful thing, and that's really why I wanted to bring the group this isn't, by the way, this isn't everyone who helped contribute to the Twitter book. We weren't able to get everyone on. We have Sister Nubia and Sister Ebony as well, who also were major contributors to the book. Inshallah, I'll be able to get them on at a later time. But it's just so important that whatever skill that we have, that we find some way to use it to help our nation, whether it's singing, whether it's sewing, whether it's carpentry, whatever it is, it can be used for the benefit of our people. And that was one of the things that really made me smile when Brother Jesse was mentioning before, that basically this entire book was put together by our nation. That's amazing. And that just further shows that we as a nation can continue to, we're growing. We have what we need. We just have to really begin to come together as a people. So that actually leads me to the next question for Brother Jahleel. I wanted to ask him, was there any difficulty that you found with working with different people from around the country to put this book together? So, Brother Jahleel, if you could answer that.
No, I didn't run into any difficulty like that. Because we had already had some, I had a previous relationship with pretty much everybody. It was pretty easy, and my job was quite easy. I mean, aside from the few updates that we had to make to the cover and changes, other than that, I didn't run into any issue. Just a matter of deciding what I wanted to submit. So, but as far as overall, I didn't run into any issue with this part, because like Brother Hannibal said, I have a joy in design, so I'll stay up late. He's called me middle of the night. Can you send me A, B, C, D? Yeah, no problem. And I hit him late. He's still up. Can you send me some photos? I need some photos. And so it's kind of a very synergistic relationship that we've had with the whole group. And, everybody plays their part, and then, it's like a fine-tuned machine. So I didn't run into any issues, though.
Yes, sir. Well, praise be to Allah. That's definitely great to hear. So I heard everybody heard that. So working with the believers is a blessing. So thank you. Definitely thank you, Brother Jahleel. And I'm going to take it back. I'm just going to keep on going around to Brother Jesse. Oh, also, I wanted to let everyone know, if you all have any questions for any of the people who put together the Twitter book, feel free to call in. The call-in number is 646-478-0603, and just press 1 if you have a question. So I just say that. And I'm going to ask Brother Jesse, I know we mentioned before that it is really important to record our history and to record the nation really in the truth, and not just let people who are against what we're teaching or people who don't understand what we're teaching to present us to the world. So I wanted to know if you could expand upon that and further, sir.
Yes, ma'am, indeed. You know, many people, as some will know, early on in the development of this book, I actually wanted to call it Hot Deep 2.0. But then I was instructed and guided that, no, we should do the Teachings 2.0, and I understood why. However, in looking at it now, more people are coming up to me, Sister Halima, Sister Akila, and they're calling it Hot Deep 2.0, including Brother Archie. People who texted me the tweets every morning saying, this Hot Deep 2.0, Brother Jesse, and I'm thinking like, man, that's what I wanted to call it. But the reason I wanted to call it was that we know when Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was no longer among us. It was the job of those that were with him to gather his words. And I've read some stories where many would travel thousands of miles if they heard somebody who had hinted like they had heard something that somebody had said, that the prophet had said that they need to document. That's how deep it was. So therefore, who are we in this time who are blessed to be around the minister, to live in this day and time, to have his words, to have our experiences, not be thinking about how we're going to document this for generations to come? Who are we to be comfortable with the enemy telling our story years from now? When my great-great-great-great-great-grandchildren read about Brother Jesse walking with Minister Farrakhan, the only name I want as the author on the cover is somebody with the last name Muhammad. Otherwise, it has no value. So that means we need a Brother Jahleel down the line to have his name in this book. Why? Because the graphic designer 20 years from now, he got to know that it was a graphic designer that walked with Farrakhan, a one that took photos for Farrakhan, a one that edited for Farrakhan, a one that transcribed for Farrakhan, somebody that had the guts to protect his image, to protect his words, not only to protect his physical life, but to protect his intellectual property. That's soldiers. That's the one that the scripture says, those who are the guardians of the sacred mosque. We taught the mosque ain't a building. The mosque is the individual who carries the word, the Islam. So the minister is the sacred mosque. So this book, we're showing as soldiers, we want to protect this word. So therefore, when you're reading this inside cover, that it got all Muhammad's name, that's letting the enemy know that we're going to take charge of telling our own story, and we're not going to depend on you. And that's what I love about the Honorable Minister Farrakhan, for him to suggest that to me, that we went on a road to make it happen. I'm here to tell you as I close, Sister Akila can tell you all, it would take one full show just for me and her to say what we went through back and forth with the layout. Oh, my God. And Sister Nubian, she got a whole nother story. I got a whole nother story, you know, with the layout, the editing. Sister Landra, others got conversation stories, but the beauty of it is, just like Team USA, they bring their best together. When I read the names who put this book on, it's like a Nation of Islam dream team. And it's such a blessing to have worked with everyone, but it's not over with. This is just the start. To know that we have enough content for 6 or 7 more volumes, Lord, that makes me run down the Twitter aisle, as y'all know I be tweeting. I know Sister Landra over there shouting now. And I had to say, she ain't right. I'm going to tell y'all straight up. Sister Landra, she put out a threat notice. If I didn't let her work on this book, I was going to come up missing. That's how they roll in New York. Now let me stop and check. But with that being said, everybody was picked for a particular reason, not just because they bring a certain skill set, Sister Akila. But as you hear my Brother Hannibal, and Brother Jahleel and others who have said, and Sister Shareefah, everybody brings the spirit of Farrakhan to what they do. And that's important to me. Yes, you need skills, of course, but the spirit of this project is evident how it's touching the people, that it was handled with care and with love, and everybody who touched it, they had the same love for the minister in it. That's why it's touching the people. I apologize. I got fired up. You know how I get.
Oh, praise be to Allah, sir. No need to apologize. Actually, we have some questions from the audience. So I would like to bring on the last four numbers of the number are 4029. So, assalamu alaikum. You can speak and ask your question.
Wa alaikum salam. This is Sister Donna Muhammad from Memphis.
Oh, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. It's not so much a question as a comment because I want to bear witness about the Hadith 2.0. Since I've received this book at Savior's Day and started reading it immediately, no more than 1 to 2 days have passed since that moment that a situation has not arisen, and the answer was right there in that book. Everything that we're dealing with is right there, and that's only 1 year, almost 2 years ago. So I understand that the name, The Teachings 2.0, but it is okay for us to call it among ourselves, I believe, Hadith 2.0 for these modern times, because that's exactly what it is. So I just want to thank everybody who had a role in making this come to fruition, and anything that you need in the future, I submit myself to you as well for assistance, as I have experience in transcribing and layout. But you all a wonderful team, and I thank Allah for you, and I know He must have a special place for you for this work that you've done. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. And thank you so much for calling in, sister. Yes, man. And we also have one more question. The last four numbers are 3027. So, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. How you doing, sis?
I'm doing well, sir. How are you?
Doing good. This is Brother Michael, Cincinnati. I wanted to ask a question to Brother Jesse.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. I was reading a book, and I can bear witness to the sister's statement that there's many issues that could arrive on a daily basis. I mean, you can pull so much from the book. But one particular issue, I was on my way back from Shawtown, and the sister had a question about the nation, and she was studying Sunni, and she said Sunni Islam, and she was talking about the Nation of Islam, and she was confused, and, but I didn't read all of the book yet because I had just got it back from Savior's Day, and I was tripping. I was like, I read the book the other day. I was reading, one of the questions, and the minister answered a question that the sister had, but I couldn't find it. So I'm sitting here thinking like, wow, it would be nice, not to put too much burden on you all, because I know you all are doing a tremendous job, but to have an index. You think we can have an index in the next few volumes where there was like a topic grouped together? I know if you have like the manual of hadith, when you look in the hadith, all of his hadiths are grouped together under one title. So I noticed that, I don't know if you all had that in mind, but I noticed that some of the questions on marriage and relationships had just happened to come right after the other in the book. But I don't know if you all wanted to do something like that to where if someone was to find something when they're on mission, on a plane or traveling, and they wanted to answer someone's question and they forgot where they read the question and answer at, they can go in the index and look it up. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Excellent question. And to answer your directly, yes, sir. That was actually one of the behind-the-scenes things that was being considered for Volume 1. What happened, our student, I have to give Student National Secretary, Brother Burby Muhammad, I'd like to thank him as well. He actually helped to proof the book as well as at a certain standpoint. And he also made that suggestion as well. However, since we were at such a crunch time to get to print, we didn't have time to do it. However, to Shareefah, as she know, she worked diligently to go through each question. She had created some wonderful categories. Some was kind of elaborate. She had like 40 categories that could have been down to 6, I think. But she was make sure she covered all bases. But for the sake of time, the Honorable Mr. Farrakhan said he liked that idea, so he said, let's do it going forward, but for this one, let's put this out. Now, they asked me what my thoughts were. It was this. number one, I said I agree with that index aspect. It makes it easy, just like they study Bible. When you go to Vacation Bible, they give you the daily bread. Daily breads, you can go to the back, get straight to what prayer, what section you need to get your spiritual hit. But however, in looking at the beautiful book Closing the Gap that our beloved brother Jahleel did and compiled, Closing the Gap represents the spontaneity by which the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan was being used by Allah because he never knew the questions in advance. But when you look at the Twitter book, this also represents that same spontaneity, which he said, and I quoted him in my introduction, he loves to see the God use him. So this book gives us into insight how the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan can be thrown so many quote-unquote curveball pitches, and he's just knocking them everything out. So it's the balance side. It gets to let the people see that this man, no matter what question it is, what order is in it, Allah guides him to give the answer while the question is being asked. But to answer your question, yes, sir, look forward. Volume 2 going forward, it will be categorized. So when we out in the streets and the people ask a question, we'll be able to flip straight to the back and give them a response. But until that time, I encourage us all, as my student regional captain here in Houston, he texted me the other day, Brother Hannibal, Brother Steve said he's on a crusade to memorize every answer to every question in the Twitter book so he can be ready when he go on the streets. And he was preaching today at the project, so he getting that. Praise be to Allah.
Yes, sir. Well, thank you so much, Brother Michael, for asking your question. And I just wanted to just keep it going. Praise be to Allah. And I wanted to take it to Sister Shareefah, and I wanted to ask you, what was your favorite part of the process or your favorite part of the book now?
I'm sorry, you said my favorite part of the book?
Well, either one. Your favorite part of the process of creating the book or your favorite part of the book now?
Well, my favorite part of the process definitely was, initially being able to hear the minister's voice as I transcribed it, because when my husband had the blessed opportunity to hear from the minister, he would record it so that, I was able to take the recording and transcribe it from there. And, there's a whole level of things that can go into, just the idea of hearing his voice, the frequency, the pitch, the spirit. You get all of that, and all of us have had this experience either when we hear him at a believers meeting or we see him speak in public addresses. That, I think, was the most impactful part for me when it came to transcribing. And then seeing the finished product. Of course, anytime we have a finished product or something, we put our labor into our heart and our love and see not only it done, but, of course, since we're doing this on behalf of our beloved brother minister, to hear that he's happy about it, that brings unspeakable joy. Or I should say it has brought and continues to bring unspeakable joy to me. But most importantly, just seeing the response of the people, whether they're young, whether they're old, whether they're little children. I can give you an example. Yesterday, my daughter came home from school because our school received the Teachings 2.0 books. And she was asking, Mommy, where's my book? And she got her book, and when she got her book, she took my phone because, these little children now, they're very apt to the technology. She recorded a video of herself, seeing her father for the book and for what he does for the minister. And she took that video and she text messaged it to him. She did all this by herself. She's 7 years old. And I was just like, oh, wow. And then that same night, she read about 12 pages to me. And I told her, I said, you only need to read 2 per night to me. She's like, Mommy, I want to read 12 because when I go to school tomorrow, I know that my classmates probably will only have read 5 or 7. So a moment like that for me is priceless. It's an emotional moment, but it's a very joyful moment. So I would say all of that wrapped into one. It has just done so much for us, and I thank Minister Farrakhan deeply, for all that he does and continues to do.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for sharing that. Praise be to Allah. Man, I know for me it's definitely just been a powerful experience to just even be a part of something that is just so momentous that we help to bring it into reality. And I also want to take it to Sister Landra, and I wanted to ask her what is the most profound experience that you had with the whole process of putting the book together and just being a part of the project?
wait, can I first tell you that I'm really having a difficult time being quiet here? Because if everyone is speaking, I'm literally high-fiving myself and very quietly saying, that's right, teach, and everything else. I'm bearing witness to everything that everybody is saying because I'm so inspired right now by the words of all of the brothers and sisters that worked on this project, and I'm so reminded of like the making of the mother plane. Like everybody was in their city doing their specific thing, even though we kind of didn't know what the final project was going to be. But still, everyone just had their own little project, and then it was put together, and it's just, I don't know, it's amazing. Anyway, something that is, what was the question again? That was a joke. You were supposed to laugh. One of the most amazing things that I've witnessed through this book is, and this is really corny right now, and it's not corny, but it's kind of cool. Two of my tweets, two of my questions to ask Farrakhan are in this book. And I remember when I was reading through the document file, editing it, when I saw my question, I flipped out. Like I was just flipping out, like, oh my gosh, my tweet's here, my tweet is here, the answer is here, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is happening. And then to see it in the book is mind-boggling to me because one particular tweet is very personal because it deals with atonement, and there were just some dynamics that I needed information and knowledge on atonement and the atonement process and what happens if something in the atonement process isn't in line. And he gave an answer for it, and I just was like, just blown away, completely blown away. I hope my phone didn't just turn off. Okay, it didn't. And just the response from not just the believers, but, just brothers and sisters that we, are engaging in conversation, not randomly, but, just if you run into someone on the street and you're just speaking with them, I keep my book in my purse at all times. And I will just start showing people the book and, reading. Did you see this? This is interesting. What do you think about this? So just to see the responses from the people as well, and then them wanting to get more information, and this being a tool and a bridge to bring them out to the mosque to get more information, to hear the teachings. It's, I don't know, I'm blown away. I'm sorry that my words are, maybe infantile, but I'm amazed that I've just been blessed to be a part of this, and I can't thank Allah enough, and thank you all enough for letting me be a part of this, and thank you, Sister Philip, for letting me be on the show.
Oh, well, yes, ma'am. I'm just in awe to be working with such a wonderful group of individuals. So I'm just as excited as you are, Sister Landra. Praise is due to Allah. That's all I can say. All praise is due to Allah. Yes, ma'am. It's definitely amazing to be with such wonderful believers. So I wanted to ask Brother Jahleel, though, what would you say to other believers who want to help but maybe feel like their skills cannot be used to further their nation? Like, what would you, I guess I'm looking for maybe some words of encouragement to give our audience that everybody is useful.
Yes, ma'am. Well, we all have a particular area that we may be skilled at, but Brother Jesse mentioned and the minister mentioned, maybe it was part one or part two, but the minister mentioned, he said that it doesn't matter how much skill you have if you don't have the spirit.
Mm-hmm.
It don't matter how well you train in whatever your field is if you don't have the spirit behind it. So most of us have a skill, or we might have the spirit, but we might not feel that our skill is worthy. Early on, I was always timid doing something for the minister, because I felt like, I don't know what he's gonna say. And so Brother Hannibal is a graphic designer. But for me, we both do things individually well with design, but his photos of the minister, being able to catch that moment, it's nothing like being able to catch that perfect moment of Minister Farrakhan. And that picture that we use, I feel like it was one of those perfect moments where he caught the minister's spirit, and it kind of resonates with the actual printing of the book. And so I would say, just having the spirit to want to help the minister is good enough for you to tap into whatever your skill area is and just help. The spirit to want to do is sometimes better than the skill to actually be able to do it, because you might be skilled in the area, but if you don't have the spirit to help him, then your skill really doesn't mean much in the eyes of those who are working, because you really got to have that spirit behind the skill set. And so my joy and my love has always been to help him. And if whatever I do, if my skill set is going to help him, then yes, I'll do it. And so that's why I said it's a no-brainer for me. Anything that has to do with helping the minister, you might as well just call me, because that's the spirit that I have when dealing with him. And so for those who have these skills, I'm not a proofreader or layout specialist in that life. But we all have our individual areas. Everybody can't design the car, but somebody designed that radio, somebody designed that tire that helps everything run smoothly. So everybody has a particular role that they can have with that spirit to back it up to help the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and the work and get this word to our people. So anywhere that we can fit, wherever we can see ourselves, then we just feel that void.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And that's the realest thing, that we have to believe that if we really believe that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is the man of God, and that these teachings are really the life-giving teachings that will change our lives, that just having that belief and really meaning it, that there are things that we can do, each of us, that will be beneficial to our nation and to ourselves, that we can make a living off of and will be beneficial. But we have to believe that we can do those things. So praise be to Allah, Brother Jahleel. That's very important that we all know that each of us is valuable in our own way. And it appears that we have, well, actually, I'm going to take the next question to you, Brother Jesse. And I wanted to ask you, do you think that individuals being part of the fact that Minister Farrakhan is asking individual tweeters questions, do you think that that was a valuable aspect to the success of the book?
Absolutely. The supreme wisdom says, ask all about yourself. Ask questions. Then there's another part that says she knows all about you. Well, we know that in Scripture, she, the messenger of God in Revelation, and she's styled as a woman. So she. But also, Sister Ava has taught that the subconscious mind, the woman, the female, represents the subconscious mind. And so, what better man to ask a question than someone who God has tuned up, that he can read your hearts and your mind. See, it's not just the question that's asked. It's the spirit of the questioner. A lot of times when I'm posing these questions to the minister, he can tell, in the sense, was this a brother or a sister? He don't know the profile pictures. but he always seemed to be right. He was like, And so that touches him to answer in a certain way, but the beauty of when he answers, Sister Akila, is that he answers that it can touch all of us in a way. We can see ourselves in it. So the methodology of social media, you got to keep the social in the media, and it's always important to have engagement. See, people want to know, man, how can I get my followers up? Is it about me just pushing what I do, and can I just tweak this business and I can get a lot of people to flock to you? No. The platinum rule of social media is engagement. And as we know, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, before Twitter was around, the way he tweeted to people was walking the streets and touching their hands in New York back in those days. He always out in the streets, hitting the block. So now he's taking what he's done in the streets and took it to the tweets. And so the minister has not changed. He's engaging the people. So this format of question and answer, it is the critical key to this book. Because why? It shows the people that the minister, who all of us see in such a high light, people have tweeted back to him, Sister Akila, and said, oh, my God, Farrakhan took time to answer little old me. You have believers who've been in the nation, Sister Akila, for 30 years, 40 years, have never shook Minister Farrakhan's hand. They've held posts around him. They have had the chance to give him a greeting and passing. But these believers have had a chance to pose a question to the minister that's been on their heart for years and get an answer from him. Oh, my God. It just sets you off. So the question and answer is right in line with our supreme wisdom, because he said it's not that he said why, but it's why did he ask why. So why did he make himself accessible to all of these questions? It's because God wants to show forth his power, that this is a man whom the media has told you something else, but now on Twitter and Facebook, you get to directly get into his mind and see, is he really an anti-Semite? Is he really a hater? Is he really anti-this and that? And after this man answers all these people from around the world questions, they get a chance to see in this little old bitty book with 190-plus pages that this man has got to be from God. And I give you this one last, I got to share this testimony. A brother here locally in Houston was on the plane back from Detroit. He texted me this story. He said, Sister Akila, he sat his book in his seat on the plane, went to the restroom. He got back, one of our sisters who's now in the nation, had picked up the book, Sister Landra, and started reading. Now, you know, our first reaction as black people is, hold on, man. How you just go pick my book up? You know how black people, white people go to places and say, I hope nobody's in our seat. Black people say, I hope somebody is in my seat. You know, because, so she was skimming through the book, reading the question, just skimming through it now. And she said this to him. She said, this man, whoever he is speaking in a way he could touch anybody with this book. And this is a sister, he didn't know her from Adam. She just skimmed through a couple questions. And then she begged him, can she have the book? Naturally, of course, he gave it to her, but that's just to show the power. This is a fishing tool. It's easy access to the minister's mind. So the question and answer, it lays the format, and that's why I will forever say the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is the most engaging person on social media. You will not find one celebrity, I don't care if they got 10 million followers or 1,000. Nobody engages the people and responds to the people and gives guidance like Minister Farrakhan on social media I've ever seen in my life. So this is the template. This is the guidance, because why? The Supreme Wisdom, it said, ask questions and learn all about yourself.
Yes, sir. That is powerful in itself. I'll never forget when I read that question from Facebook, I think it was, where someone asked Minister Farrakhan how important is it for you to answer questions. And I'm paraphrasing, I'm not saying it exactly, but Minister Farrakhan said, oh, I love answering questions because I can learn about the person who's asking the questions. And I can help to civilize the minds and the people by answering their questions and seeing where their mind is. And I just thought that was so profound. Like, I literally read that and, like, thought about it for, like, 3 days. Because I was just thinking, wow, if you can actually determine or discern the spirit of the person, the mindset of the person by the questions that they ask. And you can see the sincerity of the people who are asking questions or the insincerity of the people by listening to what kinds of questions they're asking. And I I know for me, just personally, being able to just sit down and ask Minister Farrakhan a question, like, that's so, man, like, and he actually takes the time to answer our questions. And I just thought that was so powerful. I know when Minister Farrakhan answered the question, I was high for like 4 days. It was crazy. So I was telling everybody. Go ahead, sir.
No, I was just saying, you're absolutely right. And I think all of us on this call have had a chance to submit the question to the minister and get an answer. Even if the minister just responded back in the tweet, Assalamu alaikum, brother, thank you for the question. We go, I mean, I have to believe what the minister told them. He just said, yes, sir, that is correct. And they went crazy. It's because it's the minister. So, and that's why you just reminded me, and I'm going to pass the mic, I promise. But that's why the other aspect of supreme wisdom said, go ahead and submit your question, and she will teach you any course that you desire. See, you look at this book, as Brother Michael was saying, just this volume 1 covers just about any aspect you could think of. So go ahead, submit your question. Any course you could think of, this man got the answer for you. And the beauty of it is, and I have to say this behind the scenes, and Brother Hannibal, I've shared this with him and Sister Shareefah. There's been times where the minister didn't know an answer to a question. Let me tell you what he did as a student. Instead of arrogating to himself that I'm the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, he said, brother, tell Sister Nubian, put an asterisk by that one. I need to research that. And when I find out, then I'll answer it. Now look at that. So there's been times where the minister didn't know the answer or something that they said he never heard the Honorable Muhammad say, and he went and researched and went and answered them later. Now how many of us who think we know it all really would do stuff like that? Let's be real. We be straight fronting, try to science it up, but the minister humbled himself and said, I'll come back to that question later. Okay, I'm done.
Yes, sir. Well, praise be to Allah that you share that, Brother Jesse, because I really think that us being able, like the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan sharing himself with us through books like Closing the Gap, through being on Twitter, the town hall that he had, having the Twitter book, is really allowing us to see his heart for us. And I think that is something that's very, very important and very, very powerful in this time where we're soon going to be getting the flood of propaganda. We're starting to get the Foxmans and the ADL and people just saying things all over the place that are just incorrect and false, just crazy things that are just not true. But when we have access to the minister in this way, there's no denying who he is. And that's the thing about this work and this teaching. It's always our goal to point the people back to the man, not to have them look at it through us, but point them back to the minister so that they can get the teachings that without it being filtered or blocked through us, because through our imperfections. But being able to have him answer questions is just so, so profound. But I want to take it to Brother Hannibal, and I wanted to ask him, how do you feel about the minister individually, like, answering our questions? Or actually, were you able to ask him a question, sir, Brother Hannibal?
Yes, ma'am, absolutely. And one of the most exciting things, my wife found the question before I even got a chance to look for it. And she posted it on Instagram, and she shot me a text. It was like, they put your question and answer in a book. They put your question and answer in a book. So yes, ma'am, he sure did. And I mean, it put a big smile on my face. I mean, especially when it's like, Brother Jesse can bear witness. There's been so many times I call or text and say, I want to ask him a question, but I really don't want to put it on Twitter, so I'm kind of embarrassed with the question I'm asking him. And he'll say, man, go ahead and put it out there. Some questions, like, he'll say, send it to me, and I'll see what I can do to get it to him. But just the fact of getting an answer to those questions that sometimes, you might be ashamed of asking, your local representative or a friend or a family member, because you don't know how they're going to view you. But to be able to ask him directly, and he's not going to judge you, and he's going to give you the right answer, and then that's so motivating to be able to move forward with. Yes, ma'am, absolutely.
Yes, sir. I'm so glad you said that too, because I know for me that was one of the difficult things. I finally did ask Mr. Farrakhan a question when I was asking him about angels, but actually I was very hesitant it took me a long time to ask a question because I didn't want people to think, oh, she's crazy, or why would you ask such a stupid thing, or whatever. But I really wanted to know. So when the minister answered the question, I was like, oh my God, like, because it was a little while after I had answered it. I thought maybe, I don't know, it got lost in the sauce. But when he answered it, I was just so blown, and his response was so profound. It was really, I asked about angels. I said, why are angels always depicted with wings? And when the minister answered it, he was talking about people who are angels are elevated in knowledge, and people who are elevated are often depicted with wings. It was such a powerful response. It wasn't something like, well, that's fictitious, Sister Akila. Why would you ask that? It was very deep. It was very thought-provoking, and I really appreciated the fact that our minister, if you have he's always said that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad says this as well, ask me a question and ask me anything and I'll answer it. So the fact that Farrakhan is doing this is just so beautiful, and it's definitely something that needs to continue to be spread and shared. And I wanted to take it to Sister Shareefah, and I wanted to ask you, Sister Shareefah, what do you see yourself doing next or continuing to do with our nation? I know you said you were interested in health and nutrition, and I wanted to, I guess, ask you to talk about that a little more as well. But what do you could see yourself continuing to do for this nation?
3 words: raising the bar. To be honest with you, beloved, because I have several irons in different iron pans or whatever terms they use. Oh my gosh! I mean, I definitely see myself doing whatever is necessary to help our ministers. In particular, I want to give a shout out to my beloved Sister Kawan, because she has given me a blessed opportunity to work with her and inspire youth. So that is something that I'm currently doing now, because I've always had a passion for working with young people. My entire history, if one knows about me, they know that I've always worked with young people. And so that's something that I do now. And then going further on as it relates to my health and wellness aspect, one of the visions I have eventually is to have my own health and wellness retreat. But it's going to have so many facets attached to it. So right now I just focus on the smaller goals, which, of course, as I said, one is I'm a student of clinical nutrition. So I'm learning about why we eat certain foods, how the foods we eat are physically, biochemically, biologically, because the more I learn about it, the more I'm starting to see how, as human beings, our bodies are indeed designed to last 1,000 years. Of course, most of us don't believe that. But to be able to teach our people how that happens, hopefully they'll make the choice instead of dying daily. Now, I'm not talking about in the Lord, but, physically killing ourselves on a daily basis, we'll choose life instead. Like the minister said, now that you know the time and you have the truth, you're in the valley of decision. So I hope that the knowledge that I am gaining as I go out and I educate, or I set up workshops, or I open a clinic, or I do contract work, that I'm spreading truth and knowledge of these teachings so that people will be able to make that decision. Because we don't have much time to really choose whether or not we want to have life or death. So that's just a little bit about what's going on with me. And inshallah, whatever the minister or Allah himself puts in my plate, I'll be ready. Soldier at war.
Yes, ma'am. Praise be to Allah. That's what I like to hear. Yes, ma'am. So I actually want to hear from everybody. What are you into, and what are you going to continue to do? So I'll take it to you, Sister Landra, and ask you the same question, ma'am.
Come on, I can't follow Sister Shareefah. That was amazing.
Yes, ma'am.
Right now, I am working on another project with one of our pioneers in the nation, Brother Wahid Muhammad, and I'm really excited about that. And in addition, like I said, I just have recently relocated, so I am in the process of developing a daycare center as well as reestablishing my catering business. So if anyone is in the Charlotte area and you would like some delicious how to eat to live cooking, please reach out to me. So like,
Walaikum salam. Sister Landra?
No, I was saying like, I'm like.
Oh. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So, praise be to Allah. Yes, ma'am. Man. But so I'm gonna take it to you, Brother Jahleel, and I want to ask you the same question, sir.
Yes, ma'am. A few things. Particularly, my mind is really looking forward to Volume 2. One, and just continuing my work to help a lot of believers have ideas, and I really want to be one of those who help facilitate their idea through design. So I've been getting calls from some believers since Savior's Day about working on some other projects, and helping my big brother Jesse, and putting things together for the Twitter book tour that he'll be starting. And so those are some of the things that I'm excited about. But again, if my I want to be ready whenever my jersey number gets called to help the Honorable Minister with Farrakhan.
Yes, sir. Praise be to Allah. Well, we know that's what we need to be doing. That's what's right on time. Yes, sir. Oh, and Brother Jahleel, can you share your contact information really quick too? Again.
Yes, I can be reached on justmuhammad.com, JUST Muhammad.com, and then on Twitter at justmuhammad, and Facebook Jahleel Muhammad, and if for the Instagrammers, I am just Muhammad. So I'm a little bit everywhere. So I want to, and I try to reach all of those social media spheres. So.
Yes, sir. Well, praise be to Allah. We know social media is an excellent way to reach out to everyone, all of our audience in different platforms, getting the people where they at. That's where they're at, and that's really, really important. And I want to take it to Brother Hannibal, and I wanted to ask you the same question. So, what do you see yourself doing in the future for the nation? What projects would you like to work on? And just yes, sir. So that's the same question.
Yes, ma'am. One of my biggest desires since I was young was to archive the nation. As we know about the Muslim accomplishments and prior to 75, at some point in time we have to be able to have ours. So I really want to work on maybe getting like an online museum set up, or even a standalone museum here in Phoenix, Arizona, where the Jewel of Islam is supposed to be established. That's one of the things I really strive to get accomplished in the near future. One thing that I'm very excited for is that everyone knows not this weekend, but next weekend will be the first stop for the Teachings 2.0 book tour featuring Brother Jesse. So to be involved in hosting that and putting that on has brought a lot of joy to me, knowing that I can be involved in such an important venue. Another thing we're working on is just trying to continue to be a helper. I want to keep helping and just doing everything I can to get things going. Me and my wife sat down and had our business meeting at the beginning of this year, right after Savior's Day, and we discussed and said, what do we want to get done? What do we want to accomplish? And we laughed at each other because at the end of our conversation, we said, if we're already broke, we're going to go ahead and be broker, because we're going to go ahead and use up all our money to help raise Phoenix up. So whenever the minister departs, he can at least look back to this little old city and say, I know this little old city's putting in all the work they can to be my helpers. So with that being said, we just want to help. We want to help. And one of the things I want to end off with everything was saying this, for everyone who's listening to this call right now, one of the biggest things I enjoyed with this group of individuals that we work so well as a team, as a great nucleus, is the fact that we never even talked about money. Money was never mentioned in our conversations, besides what it costs to get things done. We didn't care about how much we would make off this, and most of us even came out of our own pockets to help just get things going because of the love that we have for the minister, and we didn't want to ask for any help with it. We just wanted to get it going and contribute to the best of our abilities to help out. So with that being said, I just wanted to conclude and say thank you very much for having me on the show, and I love you all, and assalamu alaikum.
Yes, sir. And one thing before you go, how can you be contacted, Brother Hannibal, and just in case anyone needs some photography or anything that you can help us with?
Absolutely. Oh, I'm so glad you said that. The first thing I'll say is you can contact me on almost any social site at Brother Hannibal, full word, Brother full word, ER, Hannibal spelled out. And in regards to the website, the brother who's always put me on blast about taking selfies, the reason why I take selfies is because Brother Artyom has held up from developing my website so I can go ahead and give the website to the believers. So that's my shot back at my brother who's always put me on blast. So as soon as I get a website, I will make sure you all know. So everybody tag or tweet Brother Artyom and say, hurry up and give Brother Hannibal a website. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.
Well, alaikum salam, and praise be to Allah, sir, for the doing for self and working the Muslim connection and working the people connection, really, doing for ourselves and supporting ourselves is definitely a wonderful thing to see that happening. And I will definitely take it back to Brother Jesse, though. So if you had any closing remarks, sir, that you wanted to say, anything that we should be looking forward to for the Farrakhan Twitter Army and this project that you're working on. I know Brother Jahleel and Brother Hannibal mentioned the tour.
Well, yes, man. Well, first, let me thank you, Sister Akila, for your hard work and those who may be assisting you with the launching of this Proclaim It Radio. And I pray to Allah will continue to bless you, continue to reach more and more people via these airways with the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Secondly, I want to thank everybody that's on the line and those who are not for all the hands and those who played a role in putting this book out. Of course, there's many other people whose names are not listed who gave counsel, gave encouragement during tough times. So I thank everybody for your assistance on behalf of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And I pray that Allah will continue to enrich you all in knowing that when we make the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan happy, we know that the two that back him is smiling. So to know that he is excited, and I'm going to tell you, he's beyond happy and loves the fact that the book is out. So the fact that he's happy, you almost might as well get your big buckets together because blessings is coming your way. And thirdly, I have to thank the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan for allowing me to serve in any capacity possible. I'm not one as those who know me into titles, positions, and all those type of things. I just like to be a servant. So in asking what do I plan to do, I plan to double down, triple down, and keep increase and striving to keep a smile on Minister Farrakhan's face in service to our nation and our people. And as Brother Hannibal mentioned, we're taking the Teachings 2.0 book on tour. I'm not sitting around here waiting for anybody else to sell these books. I'm striving. I want to push them myself. And also to get back to doing these social media seminars and workshops to expand and grow the Twitter army. For those who might have missed it, my last 2 points, we started rewatching the Time and What Must Be Done series. So we ask that everybody join us this Saturday, and we're going to rewatch and have another wonderful dialogue on part 2 of the Time and What Must Be Done series, because Minister Farrakhan asked me on the phone, which is an instruction to you all I'm passing on to the Sentinel. He said, do not let the Twitter army die, and that's what we intend to not allow to happen. And lastly, my motivation, Sister Akila, is in the book of Matthew 26, Jesus found the disciples asleep on 3 times in a row, 3 occasions. And when I wake up every morning after making prayer, reflections, meditating, and thinking about what I want to do for the day, I always say to myself, don't allow Jesus to catch you sleeping today. And if I keep that at the forefront of my mind, no matter how small it may be in somebody else's mind, Brother Jesse going to strive to keep doing something in service to our beloved minister. Can't let Jesus catch me sleeping in this hour. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.
Well, salam, sir. So before we close out, I just wanted to leave everybody with these words that I always find very important, and that's if self-development is the basis for community development, then all the solutions for our community issues are within us. So we have to be the change that we want to see. I want to thank each one of our members for joining us today, Brother Jesse, Sister Shareefah, Brother Hannibal, Brother Jahleel, and Sister Landra for joining us. And definitely thank you all, the listening audience who came on and listened, the people who are listening online, and the people who are tweeting. I definitely appreciate all of you. And next week our show will be focused on modesty with Sister Christina and Sister Halima, and I look forward to seeing you all next week, same time, same station. I sound like them.
Awake from the dream of the picture you painted. If you want it, proclaim it. Say it loud and proclaim it. Make sure you leave with something more than you came with. You will achieve, fueled by the will to attain it. So no more complaining, proclaim it.